What is going on, everyone? Welcome back into the Better Sports Betting Show here with Jon Impemba. I'm Dan Servodidio. We're talking some MLB, NBA, NHL bets, player props, anything you guys want to talk about. John, how you doing, man? Your first show on this new show that we've launched here.
Yeah, listen, I'll be here every Tuesday with you, man, talking the
Awesome.
day's slate, best bets, favorite plays, breaking down all sports, whatever's basically out there today. You and I are going to be throwing down some plays, hopefully winning some people money tonight.
Yeah, we got you, Howard, and James Grande all rotating in. We'll definitely have some fantasy alarm writers, and we've already had Fensty, Ronis, Chris Murray, and today we got Andrew Dewhurst coming on to talk some hockey, some NHL playoffs, so that'll be awesome. Some interesting series there. We'll start off with NBA here. And by the way, if you guys have any comments, questions about games, picks tonight for any sport, really, we're down to take those questions and give our opinions on those, help you find winners, as John said. So we'll talk some MLB best bets in just a touch here. But I wanted to start out with NBA. We have no guest on tonight. We talked to Adam Ronis yesterday about this series, the Celtics Heat. But I want to get both of our takes on here. Just, a lean either way, win or loss, the over or under, any player props we're thinking here. An interesting spread here. We got the Miami Heat as 1.5 point favorites, minus 120 on the money line. Which on the one hand, you're like, all right, no, of course they're favored. They're up 3-0 in the series. But it's an interesting spread here with the Celtics, maybe getting some money here late. We'll see. But where do you stand on this game? You have a lean either way here?
Listen, it's hard for me to think that the Celtics, after the season they've put together, are going to get swept. But you got to look at current form, right? And this series just hasn't gone their way. And I think the biggest takeaway is that it's not necessarily the stars that have come out in beating Boston. Sure, Jimmy Butler and Bam have had their moments. But last game, Duncan Robinson, Gabe Vincent, and Caleb Martin were the ones out there just sniping away. And you can't beat a team like the Miami Heat when you're letting their other players, the guys that you're willing to settle on to beat you. And they're beating you consistently. Gabe Vincent, Max Struss, they had good game ones. We've seen Duncan Robinson, I think it was in game 3, come through and knock down a bunch of shots. So, they're hard enough as it is. And you can ask anybody that I've done shows with, whether it be James Grande, whether it be Justin Fensterman, when they asked me what team in the East I was the most worried about, I've said the Miami Heat from the very beginning, because I don't care about regular season records. This is a team in the Miami Heat that have gone deep into playoffs for like 4 straight years. They've entered 2 Eastern Conference Finals now. This is their 3rd, and they're on their way to going into the NBA Finals like they did when they went to the bubble year. So, like, people do not give this team enough credit. Spoelstra, as great of a coach as he is, and the fact that Jimmy Butler, when it comes into playoff mode, guy turns it on. So we say it all the time, regular season NBA, it really doesn't mean anything. And you have a team like this Heat team that is deep, that is battle tested and playoff tested, and they've proven it here now, upsetting the 1 seed in the Bucks. They're going to likely beat the Celtics here tonight. I would go Miami. I think it's hilarious that Vegas just doesn't want to believe that Boston is going to lose this game, with it being just a minus 120 and a minus 1.5 spread here, because the Celtics have not really played overly competitive. I mean, last game, an absolute annihilation. The Celtics blew double-digit leads in the previous 2 games. It might have even been the first 3 games. They had double-digit leads, and they lost those games, those big quarters. I think this is it. I think Boston's going to be on their way out here. I don't think they show up tonight. They might get off to a good start, but I think they're going to be punchless here once Miami gets on that run.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because yesterday we talked to Ronis about this, is that in game 3, it just looks like they quit. I mean, in the second half there, it was just clear that this team was looking like they're going to get swept. But then you see this line, it's just really fishy to me from like a betting standpoint. Like, obviously, I think the Heat are going to win. It looks like this series is a wrap.
The Celtics are still favorites going into game 3, going into Miami. They were favorites going into that game. So
Vegas is giving the Celtics a ton of credit.
They're capable of losing.
Yeah, which is crazy. By the way, an interesting trend here to look at. I don't know if you noticed this, but Scott Foster is the lead ref, the crew chief tonight. Yeah, he's the extender. He makes sure these games, the NBA wants some money here, some
Yeah.
TV money, because the finals aren't starting until June 1st. So just a really interesting trend there. But and I saw an interesting stat. So Scott Foster, when he does Heat games, the last 14 games, the Heat they are 3-11 against the spread and 2-12 straight up.
Yeah.
Over the last couple seasons with Scott Foster as their ref.
We'll get
So
some early Bam foul trouble today, and we'll see what happens. Listen, you don't like to believe that that the referees are still a little crooked since the whole Donnie,
right,
you think? But I think it was Foster that was actually connected to him, like during that whole scandal thing there. And then you have, obviously the ref impact, and there's an entire Twitter handle that is dedicated to basically tweeting out these ref stats.
yeah.
Around Boston, where I am, there's a betting radio show on the local sports station. They call it the Wrangle. It's the ref angle, basically, of each spread, and they figured out the odds and the impact that these referees are going to have on certain games and matchups. And yeah, Scott Foster is affectionately named the extender because he's there to get these series further into the playoffs. I can't imagine the NBA wants their Eastern Conference and Western Conference matchups to end in 4-game sweeps, both of them. So sure, if you want to even money line plus 100 on the Boston Celtics tonight and think that they get back to Boston for a little bit of money, sure. I just, there's something wrong with this team. I think Jaylen Brown wants to be gone. I don't think they like Joe Mazzulla at this point, and I've said that for a bit. They were frustrated vocally about the dismissal of Ime Udoka. Smart and all of them, they were quoted not understanding why he was let go, and some non-quotes basically suggesting that the team didn't believe that the team was overreacting to the Udoka dismissal there. So push comes to shove, talent can only take you so far, and now that Mazzulla, isn't coaching them up or they don't believe in him, they're quitting.
Yeah. So from a betting standpoint tonight, I cannot back either side. I'm staying away from look at some props maybe, but the money line or the spread, I just kind of got to stay away because, like you said, everything is saying take the Heat. When you watch these games, the eye test, the vibes of both teams right now, the Heat should, they're going to win this series. They're up 3-0 obviously already. But tonight, I mean, you mentioned it. The NBA might want this series to go another 1 or 2 more games here, and which is a weird vibes, and I just can't really back the Celtics or the Heat with just both those things kind of contrasting. But as you said, I mean, Celtics plus money right now on the money line if you want to take a shot on them, because of the Scott Foster extender angle here. Well, let's go into some MLB bets here. We both got stuff that we want to get to. I know you are always glued in. By the way, check out the MLB DFS live show coming up after us at 5:00 Eastern. We got Impemba and James Grande every day there breaking down the MLB DFS slate. So some of these bets might play right into some DFS plays tonight.
100%.
Yeah. And I see you got a couple of player props. I'll let you go. What's your best bet here, player prop that you really want to dive into?
Yeah, Josh Jung over the 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs is one of my favorite plays of the day. Rich Hill on the mound for the Pirates here today against right-handed hitters on the season. 357 WOBA, 237 ISO, 506 slugging percentage. Right-handed hitters there against Rich Hill. Josh Jung against left-handed pitching, 341 average, 682 slug, a 1065 OPS. So just absolute monster numbers for Jung against lefties. Rich Hill getting destroyed by righties. And then Jung's gone over this now in 4 straight games here. So Josh Jung there over the 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Could easily get this in one swing of the bat. He homered last night. That would cash that. That's sitting at minus 115. So a pretty decent little favorite there on the board. Sorry, minus 125 now. A little decent favorite there on the board tonight. So that's my favorite play of the day. But I do got a couple other ones that were flash up there as well.
Yeah, and I'll go right off of that because my best bet is the Rangers on the run line, minus 1.5. It's at plus money right now, plus 100 on DraftKings. The money line is about minus 165, so it's a little too much for me there. But I like the run line. I just think this team's going to bounce back. They lost last night, but I think, as you mentioned, Rich Hill on the mound here for Pittsburgh. Some negative regression here. If you look at some of the numbers, he's got a 3.80 ERA. right now, but he's got a 5.88 expected ERA, a 4.62 FIP. And I look at those right away and I see, what matchup, coming up is going to have some negative regression for him. And it's this matchup against the Rangers. Rangers crushing left-handed pitching. You mentioned Jung, but this lineup is filled with guys, Semien, Adolis Garcia, that can really punish Hill here. Rangers, both third in the MLB in terms of WOBA and weighted runs created plus against lefties this year. Over the past 2 weeks, they've been even better in both those categories against left-handers. So I see that matchup on the one hand. I think the Rangers are going to really score a ton of runs here. I like their team total over. That's one of my best bets for sure. But also I'd like their first 5 because I think they're going to get plenty of run support here for Nathan Eovaldi. And then you look at Eovaldi, he's have a strong year so far. 2.83 ERA, an impressive FIP and expected ERA numbers that kind of back that up. And Eovaldi has been a guy that's really been better on the road this year, interestingly enough, than at home. A 1.83 ERA at home compared to a 4.15 ERA or on the road against a 4.15 ERA at home this year. And you get a Pirates team that's been bad against right-handers all year, and especially over the past 2 weeks. So, I know they exploded for 6 runs last night against these Rangers pitching, but I think Eovaldi is going to do his job in the first 5 and, overall for the full game to allow the bullpen to keep the at least a 2-run lead here. So I like the run line, the first 5 here, and even the team total for the Rangers. I just think they're going to have a ton of success here tonight. So what's another player prop that you like that you were mentioning?
Yeah, I got a little combo play there. I have Rowdy Tellez over half a home run. Basically just hit the home run, and I think it was at a plus. I think I had a plus 450 is what they have that one at, and then JP France over the 2.5 earn at plus 100. France, you follow along with that MLB DFS live stream that I do with James Grande there. We identified France's last start, just some major regression was due for him. A guy that, you look at his ERA and then you looked at the XFIP, the expected ERA, Sierra, all those numbers, they're monsters, right? So even now, after that last start, we did get hit. His ERA is up to 4.11. That's still sitting with a 6.35 FIP, a 5.04 XFIP. He has a 20% home run to fly ball rate here. It's just, there's a lot of tough numbers, 2.3 home runs per 9 for France. And then Rowdy Tellez is just on fire right now. We love him at home. We love him against righties. So you basically can almost bet on Tellez home run. France hit the over 2.5, earn a lot, and maybe you combo that up together and you can make some money here tonight. Both big odds. So
I like that. Yeah, that's a nice little parlay there. We always love that. I'll go into another one here. Padres Nationals. I like the under in this one. We got Yu Darvish against Mackenzie Gore, which both having about decent seasons this year, but I do like this matchup against both opposing offenses for them. The Nats, they're on the wrong end of their splits. A team that's a lot better against left-handed hitters, about 351 WOBA this year against lefties, but against righties, 294 WOBA, and then the bottom 5 of the league against right-handed pitching. So I think Darvish is going to have success here.
Very interesting note on this game because I almost wrote this down as well.
Yeah.
So Mackenzie Gore, if you look at his projected earned run number, it's at 2.5, but it's minus 140 on the under. So the National starting pitcher minus 140 on under 2.5 earned runs, but the Padres are minus 150 favorites. So if you look at both starting pitchers on DraftKings Sportsbook, Yu Darvish minus 135 under 2.5 earned, Mackenzie Gore minus 140 on under 2.5 earned. So I liked the under 8 as well because I'm sitting here, I'm like,
awesome.
If both starting pitchers are expected to give up 2 or less runs here, where are the 8 runs coming into play?
Yeah.
Man, I really like that play.
Yeah, I guess in the 7th, 8th, 9th innings, maybe we get the bullpens blowing it for us. Yeah. But on that note, I do like the first 5 under too. I like this pitching matchup on both sides and both subpar offensive splits. I like the full game, but I also like the first 5 under if I do like that first half. So yeah, I think that's at 4 right now and about even money on both sides. But I think we could get 3 runs in the first 5 innings and cash that. But yeah, on the other side, as you mentioned, Mackenzie Gore going against the Padres offense that, they lost Machado right now, and it's just an offense that was not great before Machado got hurt, and terrible against left-handed pitching this lately with a 270 WOBA, with 72 weighted runs created plus over the past 2 weeks, both bottom 5 in the whole MLB, and it just hasn't been great against lefties most of the season. So I see this matchup on both sides, and Nats Park is an interesting, sometimes we get some higher scoring games, but I feel like it tends to be these lower scoring games. Maybe it's because of the Nats offense, but
it's going to be the walks for me. If Mackenzie Gore can keep the walks down, I think he's going to have a lot of success.
Yeah,
in this spot, I like that. I like that a lot.
Awesome. All right, well, we'll get to a couple more MLB plays in a little bit, but we got to talk some NHL playoffs because we got an interesting matchup tonight, and another series to talk about in the Western Conference and Eastern Conference playoffs here. Let's bring in Andrew Dewhurst here to talk some NHL playoffs best bets. You can follow Andrew on Twitter at Andrew K. Dewhurst. He's one of our best NHL writers, him and Chris Murray form a great team there. Andrew, how you doing, man? I appreciate you joining us here.
Good, Dan. How are you today?
Doing awesome, man. We got to talk playoffs here. Well, first off, how about last night's game? A crazy, all these games are crazy. I mean, how many overtimes are we going to get?
I'm going to guess at least one more. I mean, who would have thought you'd have 5 games and not a single game decided by more than 1 goal yet?
Right.
Crazy.
That is crazy. As a Bruins fan, I feel a little better watching the Panthers just run through the rest of the Eastern Conference here. Maybe we actually ran into the eventual Stanley Cup winners, then I can sleep a little easier knowing that historical season went in the garbage so soon.
That's one very optimistic way of looking at that, John.
It's the only way I got.
Let's talk about tonight's game. So we got Vegas against Dallas. Dallas small favorites here at home, minus 140 on the money line or 145, wherever you're looking. But Vegas up 2-0 in this series can certainly win on the road here. How are you looking at this game from a betting perspective? Maybe the goal total that you're looking at, or on the money lines? How are you looking at this one?
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see Dallas winning this game. I think they definitely have the talent to have won easily the first 2 games, and that's what makes some of this so frustrating from a betting perspective. But at the same time, if you're going to get plus money on Vegas, who's won the first 2 games, but we've already seen how the other series has gone. If you're putting your money down, I would rather take the plus money than take a negative odd on something that's it's not super enticing to take a minus 150, right? Even on a win that could be a close game, can really go either way. I would be enticed to take the over. I think you're seeing it at 5, maybe 5.5, depending on where you're looking at. Yeah, I'm seeing FanDuel's got it at plus 5.5.
Yeah.
I think it's an over. I mean, I would expect this to be closer to a 4-3 game than a 3-2 game, which is why I would look at it that way. And you've got even odds, which really doesn't push me one way or the other. And really this time of year, you betting on over 2 goals on the puck line, that one is tough. Obviously it can happen. Empty net goals happen all the time at the end of games, but with how tight these games are, it's just, the money's there if you want to play it. Certainly if you're going to take Dallas plus 2 goals, that'll pay nicely for you. But I don't have the stomach for that myself, at least.
If we had a goal prop today, who do you think's scoring? If we're looking at some player props, give me a guy that we can bet on a goal tonight.
I'll give you 2 guys. I think you're looking at Jason Robertson, and I think you're looking at Jonathan Marchessault. Marchessault's just been on fire for at least 5 games now. Jason Robertson's a 40 goal scorer. He's a guy that Dallas needs to score goals if they're going to win and they're going to stay in this series. So that's how I'd be looking at those 2 today.
I wanted to ask you about when you look at the other series, the Panthers Hurricanes, and you mentioned it, seeing how that series is going and maybe expecting something similar here or vice versa. Do you take into account how that is going? Because we were talking about the NBA playoffs earlier, and it's seeing the Lakers get swept. It's all right, are the Heat definitely going to get sweep the Celtics now, or is it going to be like, all right, the Celtics are going to come out with some more fight here? But I mean, how do you play that into each other?
I mean, while I'd like to imagine that the NHL knows how to market itself well enough to say, hey, let's get a few more games in here so we don't have a big gap between end of conference finals and the start of the Stanley Cup finals, they really haven't proven that. So I can absolutely see Florida completing the sweep at home in Game 4. It would be really unfortunate for Carolina, who lost one of their best players before the playoffs even started. And they're a very well-rounded team, but if you're not getting production from your third lines in the NHL playoffs, especially this time of year, you're just not going to be successful. And so amazingly, Carolina looks an awful lot like Seattle, where it's like, yeah, you're in all of the games, but you just don't quite have the horses to get you over that hump right now. Honestly, the two don't correlate really well. Like what's happening in the East and what's happening in the West aren't related.
Yeah.
The storylines just look similar.
Hey, I got a goalie prop. I just want to ask for you while I'm putting all these cards together here. Aiden Hills at 28.5 saves. Jake Ottinger's at 26.5. Which one's more likely to go over or under?
I would take Ottinger over 26.5.
Okay. Good to know. We're gonna win some money on these props here.
Yeah,
so I got a goal for Robinson. Got the over 26.5. I'm excited to make some money on this. Give me a reason to watch the Western Conference hockey tonight.
Andrew, I wanted to ask you about if someone's looking for futures right now, like the Stanley Cup title. Are you willing to take a shot on a Dallas Stars team here? Are you willing to take a shot on the Hurricanes coming back down 0-3, or is it somewhere where you're looking like, all right, I'm definitely targeting Vegas right now, or targeting the Florida Panthers?
I would absolutely be willing to put some money on Dallas. I mean, down 2-0 is a whole lot different than down 3-0. And I mean, if my memory serves me correctly, and John, my apologies, I believe the last time an NHL team lost a series down 3-0 was the Bruins against the Flyers, where the Flyers
came back, that happened.
Down 3-0, and in Game 7 came back down 3 goals in that game to eventually steal Bruins fans' souls.
As a Flyers fan, I do remember that game.
Yeah.
Sorry, John.
Could have been better.
The Bruins have had the last decade, so you're fine.
Yeah.
All right, so you're saying the Stars are a team to watch here. If they get the win tonight, their odds will be going down. Getting worse for people. So if you want them at the highest plus odds right now, go for it.
Yeah, and I mean, really, if you're going to play the hot hand, I think Florida is your other choice. They're not at a bad number right now. I mean, I'm seeing them at plus 125 to win the Stanley Cup versus Dallas at plus 700. So, I mean, for me, if I'm going to drop $100, I'd rather make 700 if I can. But
I'm saying Stars plus 750 on DraftKings. And Vegas is at plus 120. Florida's at plus 125. So even the Florida being up in their series and just being a little bit better odds in Vegas right now is interesting to me.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are still waiting for Sergei Bobrovsky to go back to what he looked like the last 3 years, not what he looked like 7 years ago.
Certainly would have been nice for that to happen. Jeez, he was coming up so big against Boston in that series, man.
Yeah, on that note, I mean, were you expecting something similar tomorrow for Bob here? I mean, we got the stats on the screen. You can see how good he's been. I mean, it's just insane that when guys get on this run, especially in net, are you kind of expecting another performance like this tomorrow?
At this point, how can you not?
Yeah.
Right? Like, he hasn't had a bad game at all in these playoffs. So, I mean, I guess you could make the case to say that he's due for a bad game, but he's hot. He's as hot as they get. So,
yeah, we'll tune in for that one tomorrow. But yeah, a really good matchup here tonight against the Knights and the Stars. But Andrew, appreciate you bringing coming on here tonight. Let people know what you got coming up at Fantasy Alarm. I know you and Chris are going back and forth on these NHL DFS playbooks. Anything else we should be watching out for?
The Showdown playbooks are the biggest thing right now. Always available in Discord. NHL draft isn't too far around the corner. I mean, we're going to be in the Stanley Cup playoffs and before we know it, free agency's less than 6 weeks away, right? So
as soon as these seasons end, they begin again. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's like this is the calmest time of year. Right? We only have a game every other day or a game every day.
Yeah, and then when the Stanley Cup final, it'll be a game every other day or every 2 days. So it's definitely a little bit slower period. And if both series get wrapped up within the next couple of days, then who knows? It's going to be another week of just waiting. So
yeah.
All right. Well, appreciate you coming on here, Andrew. I'm sure we'll have you on again soon to talk some hockey. Thanks, man.
No problem, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yep. And you can follow Andrew on Twitter, as I mentioned, Andrew K. Dewhurst, to get all his takes. And as he mentioned, go in the Discord and ask him some questions on DFS lineup stuff or anything else betting wise. By the way, don't miss a special edition of Her Story in the Making with Britt Flynn and special guest Lisa Ann. Find out how Britt and Lisa Ann got involved in the fantasy sports industry and the challenges they've overcome and continue to face. Her Story in the Making with Britt Flynn and Lisa Ann. Watch the show anytime on the YouTube channels of Bettor Sports Network or Fantasy Alarm right now. We're going to wrap up here with some more MLB bets. Remember, get your questions in, comments about anything you got going tonight, any odds you want us to talk about. We'll cover it all. By the way, James Grande chiming in on YouTube chat. He said, is Dewhurst going to grow the hair back is the question. We did not ask him that.
We should next time. Yeah, he had a nice beard for a while.
I remember.
Locks, so.
I guess he's going the reverse way. Usually people grow out the playoff beard, but he's going the other way. John, you got any more MLB best bets that you want to kind of get in here before we get off?
Yeah, I got a couple. Listen, I like Yuri Perez here over 4.5 strikeouts is at -115. I know a lot of people don't like going pitchers in cores. Perez has come up, strikeout machine, 13 strikeouts in his first 2 starts here to combine, which included 6 strikeouts against the Washington Nationals, which is one of the hardest teams in baseball to strike out. We talk a lot about how bad Colorado's offense is. So one of the reasons why, this year Coors, and you look at the numbers there, the Rockies offense just doesn't score a lot of runs. They don't hit it for a lot of power. So I like Yuri Perez over 4.5 Ks. I think Story Ruiz over a half a stolen base is kind of interesting at +155 tonight. I know a lefty is on the mound, but they have, that pickoff rule now. They have the bases, and basically anytime Story Ruiz gets on this year, he's looking to run. So at some point, Marco Gonzalez comes out of the game. If Ruiz gets on, I think there's stolen base there. And then another long shot home run play. Christopher Morel +600 to hit a homer tonight. Kodai Senga no longer pitching for the Mets tonight. It's Taylor McGill. 4 of the 6 home runs allowed by McGill is going to righties. And you look at some of those sabermetric stats there, some interesting power numbers against him for right-handed hitters. So I like the Morel home run prop tonight as well as a long shot play.
Ooh, some juice there. +600, you said?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And by the way, shout out to Grande. He sent a tweet out earlier. It was like, who's everyone's home run pick? Did you? I don't think you threw Morel in there. You were keeping that quiet until now.
I put Rowdy in there. Rowdy at +450.
Yeah, you put Rowdy in. Yeah,
was my guy. But yeah, the Morel one again. Doing a little deeper dive research once the Senga move was made to Taylor McGill. Just kind of looking at some numbers, and I was like, you know what? For a guy that's hit 7 home runs in 11 games since being called up, to see that number on his home run prop. So
yeah,
I went there.
When you get like a pitching change like that, is that something where, just kind of a general question for DFS or for betting, is it something where you're like, all right, I'm immediately going to target against this pitching change, considering if it is a worse pitcher on the mound?
Yeah, it depends on the matchup, 100%, but it makes you reevaluate a lot of things.
Yeah.
Obviously, Senga, high strikeout pitcher, but wild, puts a lot of guys on base. But now you're going up a guy against McGill that doesn't have the strikeout pedigree that Senga has shown. Has been a little bit more hittable as well. So definitely changes some variables there for sure.
Okay. And by the way, that game, Mets at the Cubs, we got about it's actually gone up. It was an 8 total. So now it's an 8.5 total. So maybe people are seeing that pitching change and really on your side and saying the Cubs offense could have success here.
Yeah.
And the Cubs are slight favorites about now minus 115 on the money line. So if you're thinking the same way John is here, you can jump on the Cubs right now.
All the numbers now sitting at plus 500 too. So from the start of the show, we're gone to 600 to 500 there. So
get on it now.
Moving.
And Morel's a guy that's he's been hot.
7 homers in 11 games, I think it is. I mean, the man's been unbelievable. So
crazy. I'll throw. You mentioned the Marlins earlier, but I wanted to throw Brian De La Cruz out. He's the guy I actually threw into Grande's question about who could go yard tonight. But I like his over total bases 1.5. I think it's minus 120 right now on DraftKings. He's a guy I wrote up for the MLB underdog plays over on fantasyalarm.com if you want to check that out. But I just really like his matchup here. In cores, first of all, which is something we always love. But he's going against Austin Gomber, and Gomber's been pretty shaky, pretty bad. 6.70 ERA this year, 1.63 WHIP. And he's given up 8 runs over his past 2 starts. But De La Cruz is a guy that crushes left-handed pitching, 344 batting average against lefties this year. He's hot right now. He's hitting 407 over the past 7 games, 393 over the past 15 games. And he's got
4 for 4 last night. I mean, that was
4 for 4 last night in cores, all singles last night, but we'll take it. That goes over the total bases prop.
100%.
I like him to kind of keep it going tonight against the lefty. And he's got 3 homers, 5 doubles over the last 10 games. So
Austin Gomber's a trash can. So
and Gomber's a trash can in cores. Did I say that? It's in cores.
Yeah.
The other last bet I wanted to throw out here was the Rays team total over 4.5. If you watched last night, I mentioned how I liked the Rays to kind of bounce back, and thankfully they got them on the money line. But
they're like the number 1 offense against right-handed pitching this year.
Yes,
so
they're facing a right-hander, Jose Barrios here, 6.67 ERA on the road this year, compared to a 2.22 ERA at home. I mean, when you see splits like those, I immediately looked at the Rays. Their team total is at 4.5, or it was earlier today, and I think the odds were going the other way. But I like them to score at least 5 runs here. Barrios has a bad splits on the road his whole career, basically, and last year too with the Blue Jays. But this year he's getting crushed. And you mentioned the Rays offense just smashing right-handed pitching this year.
Lefties are doing a lot of damage against Barrios this year too. 515 slug, 368 WOBA. You could be looking at Brandon Lau, Luke Raley, something like that coming up big tonight in the power department there against Barrios for sure.
Yeah, Brandon Lau's a good one because yesterday's show and for underdog plays, I wrote up Brandon Lau against the righty yesterday, but he went 0 for 4, I think. So that was a dud.
Well, I mean, him and Josh Lowe, I get them confused sometimes with one another. But Josh
Lowe and Lau,
but another lefty in that lineup today. So some pretty bad numbers for Barrios against lefties today.
Yeah, so I'd go right back to the Brandon Lau pick. That's a good one. James Grande is saying, what if I said Brent Rooker over 1.5 total bases was the biggest lock of the century? That is so we got A's backer James Grande here. What do you think of Brent Rooker here over 1.5 total bases?
See what his total base number is here tonight. 1.5.
We got the A's against the Mariners against Marco Gonzalez.
Plus 120 on the over 1.5 total bases there. So I mean, listen, that guy started off white hot as well, and we were definitely not in on Marco Gonzalez this year. So
he's been
certainly good.
Awful.
Kind of interesting. So he's plus 120 on the 1.5 total bases, but he's a minus 120 in the over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. So I guess he could sing. I guess he could single and score and hit that, or single and RBI and hit the over there. But kind of interesting, right? You have a plus 120 on the 1.5 total bases, but a minus 120 on the 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs.
Yeah, I guess people are saying that he could get a single, or Vegas is saying
Story gets on, steals a bag, cashes my stolen base play, and then he goes on and hits a single and scores a Story, like maybe. But
he's not going to get a double or an extra base hit.
That seems kind of interesting there. The little
but maybe he gets Maybe he gets 2 singles. How about that?
Yeah, totally down for all. Let's see what his home run prop is here. Plus 350 for a homer is one of the better odds on the board. So
wait, plus 350 for a homer, but his total bases are plus 120.
Yeah, total bases at over 1.5 at plus 120, but the homer is plus 350.
That doesn't seem to line up there.
I don't know. I'm telling you, sometimes there's odd little numbers. You got to do some deep research. That's how I saw that Mackenzie Gore thing. I was like, wait a minute. That game totals at an 8 and both starting pitchers under 2.5. Is that minus 140? And then the Padres are minus 150 favorites. Like, who's scoring all these runs and where are they coming from? So
you'll do what I said and just take the under. Whatever.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just saying sometimes you find these little correlating props, right? And you're just like, wait a minute, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2 here for a second,
right? By the way, so Tuesday is our Tour Junkies Golf Days on Bettor Sports Network. That's today. Today's Tuesday. If you didn't know, so join David Barnett and Pat Perry for entertaining and informative golf talk, including picks to help you win daily fantasy sports and betting for this week's Charles Schwab Challenge, plus interviews with PGA Tour and Live Golf players and caddies. Have more fun with golf with Tour Junkies tonight at 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern on Bettor Sports Network app and streaming on YouTube, Twitter, and more at Bettor Network. And we're going to wrap up here, but coming up, we got you and James Grande talking MLB DFS. Yep. That's the Quick Pitch MLB DFS live show at 5 p.m. Eastern. So, go take a bathroom break, go get a snack, and come back and watch them. And then you get the 5-pack with Kyle L. Frank at 6 p.m. Eastern, and Tour Junkies, as I mentioned, with David Barnett and Pat Perry at 7 p.m. Eastern. Any quick thoughts or wrapped up on the best bets that you wanted to get in before we get out of here?
No, like I said, I think Josh Jung's still my favorite there at 1.5. Yep. But look at some of those numbers. Lefties against Berrios, and maybe throwing some tickets in on a Josh Lowe, Luke Raley, Brandon Lau, something there. Maybe some hits, runs, RBI props.
I like it, and yeah, your player props and my bets here are kind of lining up. So I like the Rangers on the run line.
We're feeling good about it here, Dan.
Yeah, and I like the Rays team total over. So let's hope for some runs. Let's hope for some offense here.
Let's go make some money tonight. That's what we're doing.
And go make money in DFS and watch John and James coming up at 5 p.m. Eastern. John, appreciate it, man.
I'll be here next Tuesday. Can't wait to talk to you, Dan.
Yeah, every Tuesday. Appreciate you guys all watching and listening. And we'll be back tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern to give you some sports betting winners. The Bettor Sports Betting Show on Bettor Sports Network. Thanks, guys.